I hope that you don't think this was disrespectful by any means. I just wanted to put a mask on and talk about possible murder today. I put my eyebrows on so that you could maintain your wellness. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the very bizarre and crazy murder / death of Alan Jeal. Now, why do I look like this? Because I just rolled out of bed? That'd be correct. And also because I'm going to be applying a mask while I do this. Given the fact that this mask costs $1.29, I'm sure it is going to do wonders for my face. So, let's get started. Now, on February 25th, 2014, the body of 64-year-old Alan Jeal was discovered washed up on Perranporth Beach. He had significant injuries to his head, chest, torso, and right hand. When his body was found, he was wearing socks and one shoe. This mask looks disgusting. Most interestingly, and perhaps most compelling about this story, is that when he was actually found with a sock and headphones wrapped around the sock shoved in his mouth, which led investigators to say, okay, this doesn't look like a suicide, but what could possibly have happened to this man? The coroner says that the evidence cannot exclude suicide, homicide, or accidental death. The pathologist agrees that his injuries are consistent with all of those theories, as well as the idea that he may have fallen from a great height. They are consistent with him falling off of a cliff. Now, I was also able to uncover that he did have alcohol in his bloodstream. So he did have twice what they call in the UK, twice the driving limit. It was not twice what we call in the United States the legal limit, but twice the driving limit in the UK. Experts agree that the cause of death is the combination of those injuries to his head and his chest, as well as what they call, quote, the drowning process, which leads me to believe that his lungs were filled with fluid. Days after his body was found, investigators were able to find a backpack and a jacket that contained his wallet. In the wallet, they found 95 pounds, as well as a picture of Alan at 2 years old. The backpack was found nearby and was believed to belong to him. Now, in the backpack, they found a pack of Band-Aids, which in the UK, I believe that they call them a box of plasters, and correct me if I'm wrong if you know the answer to that. That is what I was able to find online. And then they also found, surprisingly, a bag of dog feces in the backpack. Now, this is what investigators found so strange, because Alan did not have a dog, so it was bizarre that this would have been in the backpack. Alan's matching shoe, one which matched what he was wearing when he was found, was later located in a nearby cavern. P.S. I put my eyebrows on so that you could maintain your wellness. The remainder of his clothing, which was seen on CCTV footage, was never located. Oh shit, I missed a spot! Detectives were able to track pretty closely his whereabouts the day prior to his death. At approximately 8:30 in the morning on February 25th, detectives were able to figure out that Alan had turned on his laptop. At approximately 11:52 in the morning, Alan is seen on CCTV footage leaving his home and heading towards the center of Wadebridge, which is the town that he lives in. At 12:10 p.m., Alan is seen withdrawing 100 pounds from what I would call in the United States an ATM. I'm not sure what they call that in the UK. However, he's seen withdrawing money, and then he enters a shop where he buys a quote box of plasters, or again what I would call in the United States a box of Band-Aids, as well as a newspaper. Now, via CCTV footage and also his internet history, investigators were able to uncover that he then went home, got on his laptop, and looked up bus routes. Now, I'm going to have to look at these to be able to relay them to you correctly. Alan searched bus routes from Wadebridge to Truro, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing anything, and then Newquay to Truro, and Wadebridge to Camelford. These were bus routes that he was apparently looking to take. I was able to also uncover that at approximately 12:50, witnesses say they could hear shouting or raised voices coming from his flat. Now, I could not find any information about what was being yelled, whether or not it was just Alan talking to himself or whether or not there was somebody else there. All it says is that the raised voices were heard coming from his flat at approximately 10:01. At 4:41 p.m., Alan shuts down his computer, which, according to his computer history, is odd. It's out of the ordinary for Alan. At 4:46 p.m., he is seen walking again to the center of Wadebridge, and he is carrying a backpack, which is later uncovered, and then he is wearing a blue raincoat, which has never been found. Now, I also want to say that in general, he is seen wearing a completely different set of clothing than he was wearing earlier in the day when he was seen on CCTV footage. Now, according to his family, specifically his brother, this is odd because Alan is not the type of person to care about what he per se looks like, or his appearance rather, and so it's odd that in the middle of the day he would just change completely his outfit before leaving his home, which would beg the question, was he going somewhere special? Detectives believe he then took the 594 Greyhound bus from Wadebridge to Truro. He arrived there at 6:14 at night, and CCTV footage sees him wandering around town for approximately 30 minutes. At approximately 6:50, he catches another bus, and he takes that bus to Newquay, and he arrives at approximately 8:16 p.m. He is then spotted walking around Newquay for approximately 30 minutes until he catches another bus at 9:15 to Perranporth. Now, finally, at 10:27, he is last seen on CCTV footage walking on Beach Road in Perranporth, and this is pretty close to where his body was discovered. I'm getting very crusty. So the next step for investigators was to figure out, okay, where did his body enter the water according to where he washed up? Investigators take into account weather, water current, body size, weight, and numerous other aspects. They actually consulted the Coast Guard, who decided that it looked as though he entered the water no farther north than Perrin Sands and no farther south than Droskin Point. Now, again, I could be mispronouncing those. Please forgive me. While he sustained a strange cut on his hand that, according to the medical examiner, is consistent with a stab wound, the medical examiner also says that it is consistent with having cut his hand on something sharp in the ocean. And because his body has no other stab injuries, it would almost be bizarre that the only injury he has is to his hand. The medical examiner also stated that his lungs were severely waterlogged, meaning to me that he was completely full of fluid, that he did indeed die of significant drowning. Investigators actually found that just prior to his death, he had purchased a 10-kilogram weighted vest and 2-kilogram weighted ankle weights. And that, to me, is a very bizarre purchase to make. They were never recovered in his home or otherwise, and the medical examiner does say that these items could have been worn when entering the water, but could have washed off of him prior to his body coming up on the shore. It is difficult to say whether or not this is likely, as there is no evidence to confirm or dispute the fact that this happened. Alan's brother says that he was an avid surfer in his youth and that he spent a great deal of his time at Perranporth Beach, which could suggest that he went back there to take his own life. Research shows that men specifically go to historically significant places, significant to themselves, when they are committing suicide. They're much more likely to do this than women, and so some have postulated that he may have gone back to Perranporth Beach to take his own life. Now, with this theory, though, we have to ask, what about the sock and the headphones in his mouth? That makes zero sense. Why would somebody commit suicide but put that in their mouth? It just doesn't make sense. Some have suggested that Alan may have been involved in autoeroticism and that this could have been a sex act gone wrong. This theory was heightened by the fact that Perranporth Beach, parts of it, are known for nudism and known to be an area where gay men go to have casual sex and meet partners. Now, the investigators push back on this theory because they say there is zero evidence to suggest that A, Alan was gay, B, he was involved in any sort of bizarre sexual activity, and C, he was never known for being involved in nudism. So the idea that the sock was used for auto asphyxiation is unlikely. Along with this, we are talking about February, so it is very cold outside. So the idea that somebody would go to a beach to find a partner to be engaged in some sort of sexual encounter on the beach is just unlikely, to say the least. Now, the only concerning part about this theory is that the sock that was found in his mouth did match socks from his home. They did not match the socks he was wearing, but they did match socks that he had in his drawer at home. Could this mean that he brought it with him? Absolutely. But could it just be a coincidence because it wasn't some crazy patterned sock, it was just a normal sock? Could it be a coincidence? Absolutely. This has got to come off soon. This is getting really tight. The medical examiner also suggested that the sock could have been used to muffle distress sounds, and that this is not uncommon for people who are committing suicide to put something in their mouth to muffle any screaming or shouting that might occur. So if he was jumping off of a cliff, let's say, to commit suicide, he might have put that sock in his mouth to stop people from hearing him scream when he jumped. However, that does not answer where the headphones came from or why they also were in his mouth. You see it drying? It's starting to get a little crusty. Because Alan was so withdrawn from the public, his brother says that he withdrew from friends, family, and his community. And so because of that, it's hard to suggest that he really had any enemies that would have been interested in harming him. With that, though, you have to ask yourself, did he suffer from some sort of mental illness in his later years? I've never heard his family state outright that he had a mental illness, but based on what I've read about him and based on the fact that he had very few friends and had withdrawn completely from the outside world and had kind of become a recluse, I wonder if perhaps he had some sort of mental break. We cannot deny that the actions toward the end of his life are bizarre. The way in which he travels from place to place with almost zero particular reason suggests that perhaps he had some sort of mental issue. The police actually state that he had only one meaningful contact with a friend right at the new year in 2014 and had since really had contact with no one. I initially leaned towards this theory of suicide and mental illness when I read about the dog feces in his backpack. Who would just have a bag of dog poop in their backpack? However, while I was reading online, these online forums stated that he was the type of person to just pick up after somebody else and perhaps carry it with him until he could get to a trash can. And given the fact that his blood alcohol level was so high, this could have also been the case. However, A, I still think that's strange, and B, from what I read online, it seems as though in the UK, double the driving limit is different from the United States double the legal limit. In fact, many people that I read online say that double the driving limit is actually the equivalent of 1 or 2 pints of beer. So it's hard to say really how much alcohol he truly had ingested prior to his death. Unfortunately, I believe that this is one of those cases where the farther you dig into this case, the more questions arise rather than answers. In my opinion, I believe that the evidence that's available suggests that either indeed Alan did take his own life or he met the wrong person at the wrong time, because I find it difficult to argue a case where he accidentally drowns with a sock in his mouth, with headphones in his mouth. That's bizarre. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have those things in your mouth if you just accidentally fell off a cliff or accidentally fell off the mountainside or got swept away in the ocean? It just doesn't make sense to have an accidental death given the other aspects of the case. I'm gonna go wash this off. It is super, super hard, super uncomfortable. I hope that you don't think this was disrespectful by any means. I just wanted to put a mask on and talk about possible murder today. So, with that being said, please let me know your theories down below. Please be respectful to one another and also to Alan and his family. It is easy to be detached from a case because this is just another person. However, it is somebody's family member. It's somebody's brother. It's somebody's son. Please be respectful in the comments. Please let me know your thoughts. I'm very curious what you believe may have happened to him. And then also, if you are from that area or if you can correct any of my wording, my pronunciation, anything like that, I would love the education and the lesson. So please let me know down below. With that being said, I'm gonna go wash this off. It's driving me crazy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!